Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tawheedosunnat.com www.tawheed-sunnat.com
Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد قال سبحانه وتعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثلاث من كن فيه وجد بهن حلاوة الإيمان أن يكون الله ورسوله أحب إليه مما سواهما وأن يحب المرء لا يحبه إلا لله وأن يكره أن يعود في الكفر بعد إذ أنقذه الله كما يكره أن يقذف في النار أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ذاك طعم الإيمان من رضي بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Respected ulama, my respected elders, my brothers, my sisters and my little ones, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. After praising the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations on Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I begin by thanking you, the people of this masjid, and all the brothers that have participated in organizing a blessed event like this in which the name of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is elevated. And especially Brother Sadiq and all those brothers that came to visit me last year personally and asked me to come and say a few words. And I promised them that I would. And today the day came for me to fulfill my promise. But then you realize, as you realize at all times, لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. And we utter these words many a time during the day. That nobody has the power to do good without the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nobody has the power to refrain from evil without the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One can have a good car. He can make all the necessary arrangements and preparations to come down to deliver this call. He can have a satellite system inside the car. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not will, then one cannot do that good. And today for me was a reminder. And maybe at the same time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was telling me something. I was telling one of the brothers in the car before I came that a scholar friend of mine, a youth, showed him some video clips which he had taken inside a nightclub. And in one of these clips was where a Muslim youth was pouring some urine inside some orange juice. And he was giving it to his friends to drink. And when you hear something like this, obviously as a believer it has an impact on your heart. And you think, what is happening? But then when you see, on the other hand, that today's talk was scheduled after Asr, and it's actually taking place after Maghrib. And then when you see the hundreds of youngsters, only because they love Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wait for 2 hours to listen to the blessed words of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, indeed, you live in hope. And you know, insha'Allah, the future is bright. The great master of hadith, Ibn Hibban, who has also compiled, just like Imam al-Bukhari, an authentic book of the hadith called Sahih Ibn Hibban. He relates on the authority of Abdullah ibn Muhammad that he says, خرجت إلى ساحل البحر مرابطا وكان رابطنا يومئذ عريش مصر. That we left for the seashore at a time when we were posted at a place called Arish. He says, when I reached the shore, to one side, I came across a tent. And inside this tent was a man. He had no hands. He had no feet. At the same time, he was blind. He could not see. And he was hard of hearing. He says, وَمَا لَهُ مِنْ جَارِحَةٍ تَنْفَعُهُ إِلَّا لِسَانَهُ. Apparently, it seemed that there was not a single limb on his body which could benefit him other than his tongue. And with his tongue he was saying, اللهم أوزعني أن أحمدك حمدا أكافئ به شكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وفضلتني على كثير ممن خلقت تفضيلا. Oh Allah, I beg you, give me the tawfiq and ability to praise you in such a manner that I can make up for the blessings that you have bestowed upon me. And oh Allah, indeed, you have given me superiority over many of those that you have created. Abdullah ibn Muhammad says here, when I heard these words, I said to myself, يا والله لآتين هذا الرجل ولأسألنه أن له هذا الكلام فهم أم علم أم إلهام ألحم. When I heard him say these words, I said to myself, okay, by Allah, I'm definitely going to go to this man. And I'm going to ask him, where has he got these words from? Is it from his own understanding? Has he read this in some book? Or has he been inspired by the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is this an inspiration? He says, I come to him and I greet him, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And he responds, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I ask, oh my brother, I just heard you say, Allahumma awzi'ni an ahmadaka hamdan, ukafi'u bihi shukra ni'madaka allati an'amta alayya, wa faddaltani ala kathiri mimman khalaqta tafdila. Yeah, my brother, I just heard you say these words to Allah. Give me the tawfiq to praise you in such a manner that I can make up for the blessings that you have bestowed upon me. And oh Allah, indeed, you have given me superiority over many of those that you created. And I ask, which blessing of Allah are you thanking? And where has Allah given you superiority over many of His creations? What Abdullah ibn Muhammad could see, what was apparent, that he has no limbs, he has no hands, he has no feet, he can barely hear, he's blind of his eyes, he cannot move, and still he's praising the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's saying, oh Allah, give me the tawfiq to thank you in such a manner that I can make up for your blessings. Oh Allah, indeed you have given me superiority over many of those that you created. So I asked him, where are the blessings of Allah? I can't see anything here. And where is Allah giving you superiority over His creation? He replies and responds, what do you think that my Lord has done with me? And he says, Wallahi, لو أرسل السماء علي نار فأحرقتني وأمر الجبال فدمرتني وأمر البحار فأغرقتني وأمر الأرض فبلعتني ما ازددت لربي إلا شكرا لما أنعم علي من لسان الحال. I swear by the Almighty Allah, if Allah was to send an order the heavens to send fire upon me which would burn me. وَأَمَرُ الْجِبَالَ فَدَمَّرَتْنِي. If Allah was to order the mountains to crush me. وَأَمَرَ الْبِحَارَ فَأَغْرَقَتْنِي. If Allah was to order the oceans to drown me. وَأَمَرَ الْأَرْضَ فَبَلَعَتْنِي. And if Allah was to order the earth to swallow me, even then this will not increase me except in gratitude and thanking the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great blessing of a tongue which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me. And then he says to him, O Abdullah, now that you have come, li ilayka haja. Indeed I am in need. You've seen the condition that I am in. I'm in such a condition that I cannot harm myself and I cannot benefit myself. I have a son which takes care of me at the time of salah. It is he who helps me to perform wudu, and it is my son who feeds me and gives me water to drink when I'm in need of it. And for 3 days my son is absent. He has not come. And I am worried for my son. I would be grateful if you can go look and see if you can find this son of mine. He says, I responded, no human, no man goes to fulfill the need of a man, which is more virtuous in the eyes of Allah than to go to fulfill the need of somebody like you. So he says, I went and looked for this. I went to look for his son of his. He says, I hadn't gone far. I came to a sandhill, and there his son was lying dead. He had been killed by a beast, and the beast had eaten his flesh. He said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that we belong to Allah and to Allah we will return. And he says, I began to say to myself, how am I going to go tell this man that the very son that he was relying on, that son is no more. He says, these were the thoughts that were crossing my mind. When all of a sudden, as I'm making my way towards him, the thought of Azad Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam, the Prophet crossed my mind. I approached him and I greeted him, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. He responded, wa alaikum assalam, and said, Ya alasta bi sahibi. Are you not the same man that I asked to see if he can find my son? I responded, yes. He asked, what have you done with regards to my need? Have you fulfilled my need? He says, I explained first and asked him, are you more dear in the eyes of Allah than Azad Ayyub alayhi salatu wassalam was? He said, Azad Ayyub alayhi salatu wassalam was more dear in the eyes of Allah than me. I asked, do you know that Allah tests and Azad Ayyub alayhi salatu wassalam through a great test? Tested him with regards to his wealth, tested him with regards to his money, his children, his family. He responded, yes. I asked, how did Allah find Hazrat Ayyub alayhi salatu wasalam when he tested him? He responded, وَجَدَهُ صَابِرًا شَاكِرًا حَامِدًا. But when Allah tested Hazrat Ayyub alayhi salam, he found him to be a very patient man. He found him to be a very grateful man. And he found that in spite of all this, he is still praising the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said to him, did you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not lead him to this? And a time came upon Hazrat Ayyub that even his friends and his families left him and would not go near him. How did Allah find him? Again he responded, وَجَدَهُ صَابِرًا شَاكِرًا حَامِدًا. I finally explained, do you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not even leave him? Even after this, his people took him and left him on the street in the suburbs. How did Allah find him? He responded, even in this condition, Allah found him to be a very patient, a very grateful, and a very praising servant. It is after explaining this, to make it easy upon him, that this news that I was going to break to him, it is easy for him to receive this and digest this news. I then said to him, my brother, the child that you sent me to look for, I found him not far from here. On a sandhill, he had been killed by a beast. And the beast had eaten his flesh. And I said to him, Allah give you great reward with regards to your son. And Allah give you the tawfiq to stay patient. Now listen very carefully to his response. From there, in your mind is condition that he has no hands, he has no feet, he is blind of eyes, and he can barely hear. His son is the one that he depends on to survive himself, because it is his son that feeds him and that helps him. And when he hears that his only son is no more, he utters the words, Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yakhluq min dhurriyyati khalqan ya'si fayu'azzibuhu bin-nar. All praise to Allah that has not made in my progeny those that disobey him, and thus Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes them with the fire of hell. And he utters, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That we all belong to Allah, and one day indeed we will all return to him. One cry, and he leaves this world, his soul parts his body. Abdullah ibn Muhammad says here now, I said to myself, my difficulty is gone even greater. What am I going to do? If I leave somebody like him in this condition, then the wild beast will come and eat his flesh. And if I just sit here, there's nothing that I can do by myself. There's no coffin here. There's no way that I can dig a grave. There's no way I can bathe him. And how am I going to do his janazah? So he says, I just sat next to him and tears began to flow from my eyes and I began to cry. When all of a sudden a group of people approached and asked, Ya Abdullah, what's the matter? And he says, I related our story. And they said to me, uncover him. Maybe we recognize him. He says, I uncovered him, and as soon as they saw him, they began to kiss his forehead. And tears began to flow from their eyes, and the words that were flowing from their lips were, my father be sacrificed for you. On such an eye that was always lowered when it came to those things that were haram. And my father be sacrificed for you. Such a body that was always in prostration when people were asleep. He says, I asked these people, who is this man? And they informed me that this is Abu Qilaba al-Jurmi, Sahib ibn Abbas, the companion of the great companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ibn Abbas sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this man loved Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, we made preparations for his janazah and we buried him. And at night I saw him in a dream. And he was roaming around in the gardens of paradise, wearing the beautiful clothes of paradise, and he was reciting the verse, Salamun alaykum bima sabartum, fani'ma uqbad dar. This is just one example that I want you to bear in mind. And I'm going to give you a few examples like this. Second example is related by Hassan. And he says there was a man in Masisa, a place called Masisa, Zahid al-Nisf al-Asfal, he didn't have the lower part of his body. And at the same time he was also blind. And he was bedridden. A man on entering asked, كيف أصبحت يا أبا محمد? Oh Abu Muhammad, how did you feel this morning? And Abu Muhammad responds, Malik al-Dunya. I feel this morning that is if I am the king of this world, and if I rule this world, yet he's bedridden. He doesn't have the lower part of his body. His life evolves around, one can say, 4 square meters. And he's blind. Yet he's saying that inside his heart, he is so happy and so content that he feels from within that as if it is him that rules the world. And then he says, مَا لِي إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَاجَةٍ إِلَّا أَنْ يَتَوَفَّانِي عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ. There is nothing that I ask of the Almighty Allah other than this. That when it comes to giving me death, He gives me death in such a state that the words that are flowing from my lips are La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Imran ibn Hussein, a third example. He fell ill of diarrhea. And the narration suggests that for 30 years he was bedridden. On his back. He couldn't sit up, never mind sitting up. He couldn't even rise from the bed. And this is his condition for 30 years. And a passage has been put out for his urine and his stool. On one occasion, Mutarrif and his brother Allah come to visit him. And when they see him in this condition that he's on a bed, he cannot even rise. Tears begin to flow from their eyes. And Imran ibn Hussein asks them, why are you crying? He says, because we see you in this critical condition. Look at the difficulty that you're going through, and because of this, tears flow from my eyes. He tells them, do not cry. Whatever is dear to Allah is dear to Imran ibn Hussein. And I want to tell you something, it is so possible through this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefit. But I want you to assure me that you do not tell a single soul till I die. And what I tell you is that the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala come to visit me on a daily basis. And I get great satisfaction from this. They convey their salams to me and I can hear their salams. Just remember, this is not a punishment for me. It is a source of blessing. And one who can see this and experience this, how can he not be happy from within and pleased with the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A final example. And all these examples, there's a common denominator, and we're going to get to this. A man from amongst the Bani Israel, he says to his wife one day, for years I've desired to eat kebabs. But every time when I think of the poor and the difficulties that they have to go through, when times come when they don't even get dry bread, I change my mind. Now his wife was a good wife. She wasn't one of those that said, I'll give you kebabs. She said, we will slaughter 10 goats. 9 we will give to the poor. And we will keep one at home. And now she slaughters the goats and has her children watch. And when she finishes, one of the boys says to the other, let me show you how our mother was slaughtering the goats. And he took the knife and he slaughtered his brother. And the blood began to gush out. Out of fear he ran, tripped, and fell inside the tandoor in the oven and also died. Now look at the reaction of this woman. When she realizes what has happened, she does not break down. She takes the children and leaves them in one room. And then with a storm on her heart, she continues doing as she was, preparing food for the poor and her husband. Her husband returns in the evening. She does not inform him. She gives him the food. He eats well. And then after she says to him, somebody left something in my charge. And today he asked for it back and he took what he left. And when he took what he left, and the time came to separate and distance ourselves from the thing that he left in our charge, it hurt inside. The husband explained at the end of the day, my wife, these things belong to that person and he was more worthy of them than me. Now she explained to him that the 2 things that were left in our charge were our children, and it was Allah that has taken them. He turns around to his wife and says to him, something so big has happened and you stayed firm and you were patient and you did not break down. I am more worthy of this than you. Zunnun Misri Rahmatullah alayhi, the great Egyptian saint, thereafter says, there are certain servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world, to whom calamities and difficulties are more sweeter than honey. A final example, and this is of the son of Harun Rashid. He leaves the palaces of his father, and he barely has clothes to cover his body, and his bed is Mother Earth, and the heaven is his blanket, and he sleeps, his pillow is a brick. Now the examples that I've just given you, apparently it seems that these people have nothing. Apparently it seems that these people have nothing. And when we look at it apparently, indeed it seems that they have nothing. Some have no hands. Some have no feet. Some were blind by eyes. Some were bedridden. Some couldn't even sit. Some, their bed is the earth, and heaven is their blanket, and stones are their pillows. Apparently it seemed that these people have nothing, but in reality, these people had everything. They had something that even $1 billion today cannot buy. They have this thing, what we call sukoon, itminan. They have this thing called happiness, thing called peace of mind, contentment, satisfaction, and happiness with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that even $1 billion cannot buy today. These people were not on antidepressants. These people can sleep on the streets of Bombay with nothing to cover their bodies at night. But in their hearts, they are happy, they are content, and they feel like billionaires. And today we have everything. Apparently, if you look at the way we live, we have everything. We have the best clothes to cover our bodies, beautiful food to fill our bellies, nice houses we live in. But in reality, we have nothing. We have nothing. The contentment is not there. The satisfaction is not there. Happiness 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is not there. Some of us are on antidepressants and some of us are in need of tablets. Look at the Hollywood stars. Everybody desires and wishes to be like them, to live like them, to be in the position that they are, to own what they have. Some of these people have millions and millions of dollars, so much money that it would even put mountains to shame. You and I may dream of a certain car. These people have a car for every day of the week. Lamborghini for a Monday, a Ferrari for a Tuesday, probably a Merc for a Wednesday, something else for a Thursday. Every single thing that you and I may desire and dream of, these people have. They have fame. They have power. They have glory to an extent. Their houses are worth millions and millions of dollars, selling acres and acres of land with tennis courts, swimming pools, acres of beautiful green grass which is lawn, and daffodils and tulips and lemon geraniums and God knows what they have. And every luxury that you and I can imagine and desire, that it should be in our house, and we work day and night to get that for our children, they have inside their houses. From Persian carpets, to Turkish rugs, to Italian sofas, to waterbeds. They have maids to serve them, women to please them for every day of the week. It's a different woman. Every single thing that brings comfort, that theoretically should bring happiness, these people have. But one thing that they do not have is happiness. They have everything that will bring comfort. They will have everything that should theoretically bring happiness. But the thing that they do not have is contentment. Happiness. If you are content and happy with one woman, why should you change her the next day? Why should you look for another one on the third day? If happiness and contentment is inside. Why is it that these people cannot go to sleep at night and find it difficult and need tablets to help them? Why is it some of them complain about stress. Some complain about depression. And many a time you read an article in the paper where somebody who's earned millions and millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, when you find out the reality of the life that he lived, he ended up killing himself, committing suicide. Many a time you hear this. Why is it that a person can have everything, but deep down he is not happy, and then we can have somebody who's sleeping on the streets of Bombay who has nothing, but inside his heart he feels like a billionaire. Today every human being, male or female, black or white, whether he believes in Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or whether he doesn't believe in Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everybody is looking for one thing. And that thing is called sukoon and itminan. Everybody is looking for this happiness. And everybody is looking for this peace of mind. Everybody is looking for what I call this buzz and good feeling. And everybody is looking for it in the materialistic things. Everybody. Some of us are looking for it in women. Some of us are looking for it in clothing. Some of us are looking for it in food. Some of us are looking for it in money, in wealth. Some of us are looking for it in power. I swear by the Almighty Allah, I am in the house of Allah. You can wear every designer gear that's within this universe. And you can taste every intoxicant on this planet. And you can go through every woman on this earth. But I swear by the Almighty Allah, you will not find this buzz, this happiness in this place. And you can try it if you don't believe. For those. And why will you not find it in these things? Because the creator of this buzz hasn't placed this buzz and this contentment in these things. For those that like good food, how long does the good taste last? As soon as the morsel goes down your throat, the taste comes to an end. For those that like good drink, how long does the taste last? As soon as you sip it down, it's gone. For those that are intoxicated, how long does the buzz last? A few minutes. And then you go berserk. And you get to that stage where you will be prepared to sell your own children for this dope. For those that like women, how long does the taste last? 2 minutes. And when she slaps you and she packs her bag, all of a sudden your heart begins to ache. And for those that like good cars, how long does the buzz last? When your mate now comes out with a better car and he's now the center of attraction, all of a sudden your heart begins to burn with fire of jealousy. I'm not talking about these buzzes. These are what we call the fake buzzes. The nutty and nasty stuff. The number 2. I'm talking about that buzz which begins where all these come to an end. Have you seen a child? A child, when he's small, the only thing a child likes to do is he likes to play. He likes to play games. He likes to go park. He likes to play with toys. This is where he gets his enjoyment from. As this child now grows older, now he wants to look good, and he wants to feel good, and he wants to wear all this designer type clothing. And now when he gets older, there are only 2 things on his mind: cars and women. And once he's had enough of this, now he's looking for wealth and he's looking for power. This is what the Quran says. اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر. I'm not talking about the buzz and enjoyment that you get from these worldly things. I'm talking about the buzz that begins where all these things come to an end. And this buzz is made by the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, not some pharmaceutical company. Allah, the best of makers, is the maker and creator of this mess. And by every second, this buzz increases. 24/7 a day, once you take a portion of this buzz, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right from the time you take it, right till you die, you will be on a high. Even when you die, and you're on the verge of leaving this world, like Bilal al-Habshi radiallahu ta'ala, The words that will flow from your lips are wa tarba ghadan nalqa al-ahibba Muhammadan wa hizba. That tomorrow when you're in your pants of death, even then you will be on a high and you will be saying, tomorrow we will meet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and we will be with the companions of Muhammad. Even in your grave when the angels Munkar and Nakir come to you, you will be on a high and you will say to them angels, you're telling me, Rabbi Allah, Deen Islam, هذا رجل محمد نبينا وسيدنا. My deen is Islam, my Lord is Allah. This man who you are showing me is our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On Midan Mahshar, in the plane of resurrection, you will be on a high because you will be sitting in the shade of Arsh of Allah, the day there is no shade, other than it is shade. And when you enter paradise, you will be on a high. And when you see the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, and when you see Allah in paradise, you will be sky high. This buzz will increase billions and billions of times. This is the buzz that I'm talking about. And you will only find this buzz, Allah, بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. You will only Allah says, only in the remembrance of Allah do these hearts gain peace. Only in the remembrance of Allah will you feel good, will you feel happy, will you feel content, and will you feel satisfied and nothing else. And today we are looking for these things in a materialistic way. If I were to say to you now and ask you that somebody walked into a pharmacy and he asked the pharmacist for a jubbah, one of these. Okay, I want to buy a jubbah from you. What would you say about that person? How do you think the pharmacist would react? Okay, this guy, he's definitely giving that type of medication. Okay, this guy, he's lost the plot. We sell drugs here, he's asking for jubbahs. A fruit shop. And guy walks in and says, okay, what do you call it? I want a bonnet for my car. What would you think of that person? You think this guy's lost it. He's walking in a fruit shop and he's asking for a bonnet. This human being does not ponder. 1400 years this book has been saying, Allah, and it starts with Allah. There is only one shop that sells this happiness. There is only one shop that will give you this satisfaction, that will give you this contentment, that will give you this good feeling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for all your life. And that is the shop of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then why, knowing this, does this human being look for this verse in the materialistic things? Why does he look for it in money? Why does he look for it in women? And why does he look for it in the book? And let me tell you how to acquire this verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. That only in the remembrance of Allah do these hearts gain peace. Will you feel this good feeling and will you feel this happiness? And when will you get this contentment and satisfaction? Only in the remembrance of Allah. You will only be able to remember the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you love the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't love Him, you cannot remember Him. For those that somehow or another get acquainted with some woman, and you should not before married. Well, let's say those that do. They spend hours on end speaking to this woman. Mobile phone, 3 hours on end they will speak to this woman. Why? Because deep down they have feelings towards her. And whether it is so possible that most of the time it's nonsense, but because he's feeling something within, he can spend hours and hours and hours with her. Likewise, you will only be able to spend hours and hours with the Almighty Allah once you begin to love Him. If you do not love Him, you cannot remember Him. And how can you love Him? You can only love the Almighty Allah when you know Him. If you do not know who the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, if there is no ma'rifat, if there is no recognition, you cannot love Him. And if you do not love Him, you cannot remember Him. A child is not afraid of a snake. Why? Because there's no ma'rifat there, there's no recognition. The child does not know that this snake can harm him. Take a diamond in one hand and take a sweet in another hand and give it to a child. And the child will take the sweet. Why? Because there's no recognition. He doesn't know that if he went for the diamond, with that diamond he can buy a billion sweets. No recognition there, and he will go for the sweet. Likewise, only when we begin to recognize the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will we begin to love Him. When you recognize that your Lord is the Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, He is the most merciful, He is the most kind, the most compassionate, whose mercy extends to the whole universe, to every creature, to the good, the bad, the small, the big, the male, the female. When you realize that even those who do not even believe in the Almighty Allah, He is merciful and kind to them. Merciful to the fish in the ocean, to the birds in the sky. Billions of times more merciful than a mother is to her child. You will begin to love the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you realize that He is the Al-Malik, He is the King. Not only is He the King, He is the King of all kings, ruler over all creation in all the world. Such a King that doesn't just rule over bodies, He rules over even hearts. He rules even over spirits. You will begin to love Him. When you realize that He is the Al-Quddus, the pure from all defects, pure from all deficiencies, pure from all faults, nothing is like Him, you will begin to love Him. When you realize that He is the As-Salam, He is the Al-Mu'min, the Al-Muhaymin, the author of safety, the giver of peace, He is the protector, you will begin to love Him. When you realize that He is the Aziz, He is the Jabbar, He is the Al-Mutakabbir, He is the Mighty One, He is the Compeller, He is the Majestic, mighty in rank, mighty in power, mighty in dignity. وَالسَّمَاوَاتُ مَطْوِيَّاتٌ بِيَمِينِهِ. The heavens and the earth will be in His hands on the day of judgment. When you realize that He is the one with the power, you will begin to love Him. When you realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Khaliq, He is the Bari, He is the Musawwir, He is the Maker, He is the Creator, He is the Fashioner. He was the one that made you. He was the one that made the earth. He was the one that made the heavens. He was the one that made the stars. He was the one that made the moon. He was the one that made the entire universe, the galaxies, and everything within them. He was the one that made them. He was the one that fashioned them. He was the one that created them. You will begin to love Him. When you realize, look at the way He created the universe. The غَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا. Not a single pillar in the entire universe. Yet this universe is so big that the human mind cannot even comprehend the size of the universe. When you realize this, you will begin to love Him. وَأَلْقَى فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِيَ أَنْ تَمِيدَ بِكُمْ. Look at the way He placed the mountains on the earth, so that the earth does not toss. When you realize this, you will begin to love Him. Look at the way when the rain touches the earth, all of a sudden this dead earth, it becomes alive. Plants begin to grow. Some of these plants give life. Some of them take life. Some of them help to circulate blood. Some of them help to purify blood. When you realize this, you will begin to love Him. Look at the way He created you. How He made a small substance in mixture with the worst type of blood. He made it into a clot of red blood. Then He made this clot into flesh. Then He separated this flesh into ears, into eyes, into nose, into hands, into heart, into kidney, into liver. Then He gave every organ a function. The eyes to see, the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the tongue to speak with, the hands to touch, the feet to walk with. When you realize this, you will begin to love Him. When you realize that the Almighty Allah is the Ghaffar, is the Qahhar, is the Wahhar, is the Razzaq. He is the great forgiver. He is the dominant. He is the bestower. He is the provider. He is the one that is ready to embrace your tawbah whenever you turn to Him in repentance. When you realize that He is the Alim, the knower of all things, إِنَّهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ. With Him are the keys of the unseen. لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وما تسقط من ورقة إلا يعلمها ولا حبة في ظلمات الأرض ولا رطب ولا يابس إلا في كتاب مبين. There is not a single thing within the entire universe that is hidden from him, and he knows it all. When you realize that he is the one that possesses such knowledge, such power, such mercy, this is when you will begin to love the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only through recognition will you begin to love the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that you recognize the Almighty Allah, now inside your heart, love will begin to enter and settle firm inside your heart with the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you recognize the Almighty Allah, the more you will love the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you love the Almighty Allah, the more you will begin to remember Him. And a time will come, and a human being can get to that stage, that the only thing that this human being wants to do thereafter is be with the Almighty Allah and remember the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at Zulaykha. How she would spend her time chasing Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam. Now Zulaykha, she embraces Islam. She becomes a believer. And now, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam calls her during the day. And she hints to the night. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam calls her during the night. And she hints to the day. And she turns around to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam and says, "O Yusuf, كنت أحبك قبل أن أعرفك." O Yusuf, I used to love you before I recognized Him. And now that I have recognized the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have no love for anyone other than Him. And I do not want anyone other than Him than to occupy my heart. It was only when Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wa salam told her that Allah has informed me that He is going to give me children through you, did Zulaykha now come to Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. This is why we find in narrations that the likes of Fudayl ibn Ayaz, the likes of Hakim ibn Uyayna, Wuhayb ibn Marw, Abu Sulaiman Darani, Wahb ibn Munabbih, 30, some of them for 30 years, and some of them for 40 years, prayed their Fajr Salah with the same wudu that they had performed for Isha. Basically means that they make wudu for Isha Salah, and then all night they stay awake in prayer, in worship, and come Fajr Salah, they stand before the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in prayer with the same wudu that they had made for Isha Salah. The likes of Hafsa bin Sirin, the daughter of the great interpreter of dreams, Ibn Sirin, not only would she stay awake during the night, with regards to her, it is narrated that for 30 years, even during the day, Hafsa bin Sirin would not move from her musalla, the area where she would pray. She would only leave her musalla for nature's call or any necessity. Other than that, she would spend her days there and she would spend her night there before the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we find the likes of Uthman Ghani radiallahu ta'ala anhu. In one rakat, he stands before the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and completes the whole Quran in one rakat. You and I, when the Imam reads, say, هَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ الْغَاشِيَةِ or something, and all of a sudden in our hearts, it begins to boil like water in a kettle cake. If I could get my hands on Him, does He not know that I've got places to go? We can't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that long. Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, for 40 years, 30 to 40 years, every day and every night, he finishes one Quran. One Quran. It's unbelievable. Come the time of his death, Yahya al-Hammani says, come the time of his death and his sister begins to cry. And Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash says to him, why are you crying? Look at that corner down there. Your brother sitting there has finished the Quran 18,000 times. 18,000 times he finished the Quran. How can somebody do that? When we pick up the Quran, First of all, we don't pick up the Quran, that's a fact. Yes? In Ramadan, we pick up the Quran. Other than Ramadan, nobody knows where the Quran is. And when we pick up the Quran, how long do we read the Quran? Page, 2 pages, and now, the shaitan starts kicking in at the same time. We forgot how to recite it. It feels difficult. Within seconds, within minutes, we're yawning and we close it. Why can't we do it? There's no love there. Yet, we will spend hours talking to some woman. There's no love there. This is why we're unable to do this. The likes of Hannad, he would teach the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the masjid. He would return after teaching the hadith, make wudu at home. He would come back and stay in prayer right up to Zawal. After Zawal, at Zawal time, he would go back home to make wudu again. And immediately he would return for Zuhr Salah. Then he would remain inside the masjid till Maghrib and he would recite the Quran. The narrator says, I said to one of his neighbors, Ma asbaru ala ibadah. Look how patient this man is when it comes to worshiping the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, you've just seen him for one day and you're saying this. هذه عبادته بالنهار 70 سنة. He's been doing this for 70 years of his life. This is what he does during the day. Only if you were to see what Hannad does during the night. Only when this recognition enters your heart will you be able to love the Almighty Allah. And it is only when you begin to love Allah will you be able to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His life. And if we look at the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is when one can understand. For us, when we hear these narrations, some of us find it difficult to accept. Why? Because we look at ourselves and we've never seen it done. Believe it or not, there are people here in this country, here now, when Ramadan comes, they still finish the Quran 40 times. There are people which I personally know. Allah give a long life to our teacher, Maulana Abdul Rahim Sahib. Maulana Abdul Rahim Sahib probably is around, at this moment in time, I don't think he's over 40. Even now, that man finishes in 1 month of Ramadan, the Quran 40 times. And this does not mean to say he just takes one corner and buts. And he does nothing else. He has family, he has children, and he provides. But the tongue is always moving with the words of Allah. And you can only do that when you start getting a buzz, when you feel that feeling. This is when you begin to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam. Look at Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was because of this love for Allah that he had in his heart that hadith suggests حتى تورط كدماء. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would stand in prayer till his feet would begin to swell. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would stand in prayer. Sayyidina Huzaifa relates, he says, on one occasion, I joined Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in prayer. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam began Surah Al-Baqarah. Alif Lam Mim Zalika Al-Kitab. He says, I said to myself, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam come the 100th verse, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will go into the book. He says, the 100th verse came, and he continued. He says, the thought came to mind, he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will finish Al-Baqarah, and then after Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam will go into the book. So Al-Baqarah comes to an end, and he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam begins Al-Iman. And then he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam begins An-Nisa. And at the same time, he says, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is reciting the Quran correctly in Tajweed. He is not rushing. And at the same time, every verse in which there is glorification, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is glorifying the Almighty Allah. Every verse in which there is to ask, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is asking. Every verse in which there is to seek refuge and protection, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is asking for protection. And only then does he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam now go into the court. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam goes into the Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And he says, his ruku was more or less as long as his qiyam was. He says, now Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Sami Allahu liman hamida, stands in Qawma. And he says his Qawma was more or less as long as how long his Ruku was. And then he says, after this, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam goes into Sajda, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. And he says his Sajda was more or less as long as how long his Qiyam was. This was just one rakat at night. And he says, maybe all the rakats were more or less the same. How long do you think Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam stood in prayer? How long do you think this prayer of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was? In which Azad radiallahu ta'ala also participated. You can only remember Allah in this manner when you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do not love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you cannot stand before the Almighty Allah for hours in prayer. And when you love Allah in this manner, this is when this becomes a source of inner satisfaction and spiritual ecstasy. This is why we find it is the turn our mothers and Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam comes and lies down with her for a bit. And after a short while, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, you know, Aisha, ذَرِنِي أَتَعَبَّدَ لِرَبِّهِ Aisha, please give me permission and let me stand before my Lord. And then Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performs wudu and stands before his Lord with tears flowing from his eyes. His blessed beard becomes wet, and he Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spends the whole night in prostration. Whole night he spent in prostration. Even in his last throes, when he's on the verge of leaving this world, this was the only concern of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ubaydullah ibn Abdullah says, I said to our mother Aisha, Yo Aisha, أَلَا تُحَدِّثِينِ أَنْ مَرْضِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. Yo Aisha, would you not tell me about the illness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? She said yes. And she said, when Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam fell ill, and she was referring to the illness that led to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam's death, she said the first thing Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked was, Ya Asal al-Nas, have people offered their salah? We said, La hum yantaziruna. O Messenger of Allah, the people have not offered their salah. O Messenger of Allah, they are waiting for you. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for water in a tub. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam washes himself. And he's about to stand up. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam faints. When he sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes round, he is conscious. The first thing Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks, Ya Asal al-Nas, have people offered their prayer? Again, we reply to Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they have not offered their prayer, they are waiting for you. Again, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks for water. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam washes himself. And again, as he's about to stand up, for a second time, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam falls unconscious. And when he comes round, again, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the thing he's asking is, Asad al-Nas, have the people offered their prayer? 3 times Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam faints. And every time he comes around, the only concern that he has is of the people stood before their Lord. And why did he do this? Why? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself said, the contentment of my eyes lies when I stand before the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we find that when he sallallahu alaihi wasallam recovers slightly, he's unable to walk. He is standing between 2 men, taking help from one on either side. His feet are dragging on the ground, and he sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to lead the prayer. One can only do this when he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when one loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this manner, and he begins to remember Allah in this manner, this is the stage when this human being and this believer will begin to taste the sweetness of Iman. This is when he gets to this level, that he begins to remember Allah like this. This is the stage when now, in his heart, he will feel this happiness. And the more he remembers Allah, the happiness will increase. And it will stay with him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right till he dies. And this is the stage that anything can happen, but it will not take him away from the Almighty Allah. And nothing in this world can then distract this person and take his attention away from the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we find the likes of Muslim ibn Yasar. He's standing before the Almighty Allah in prayer. A pillar falls in the masjid and he does not know anything about it. Abdullah ibn Zubair is standing before the Almighty Allah in prayer, and you will find this in the Ahadith. Missiles are landing before him, and Abdullah ibn Zubair knows nothing of it. You have to get to that stage to know and understand these narrations. The likes of Rabi, he's purchased a horse for 30,000 dirhams. He ties the horse and he stands before the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in prayer. His servant comes after a while and asks the Rabi, where's the horse not? Has it been stolen? Rabi responds, if it is not here, then it has been stolen. His servant asks him, the horse was tied before your eyes, and somebody came and took the horse and you did not know? He responded, at the time Rabi was standing before his Lord. And when Rabi stands before his Lord, then there is nothing that can come between Rabi and his Lord, and Rabi knows at that time nothing other than his Lord. Imam Bukhari, he offers his Zuhr Salah, and after that he stands before the Almighty Allah in prayer. He's reading Naql. And after he finishes his prayer, he says to one of those that were with him, he raises his shirt and says, have a look, can you see anything inside my shirt? And the narration suggests that a wasp had stung him 16 to 17 times. 16 to 17 times, his back had swollen, and Imam Bukhari knows nothing of it. He was asking, why didn't you finish the salah the first time it stung you? And he responds, at the time, I was reciting a surah. My heart was occupied with this, and I did not want to call that surah short. The story of Ammar ibn Yasir and Abbad ibn Bishr is very common. Nabi Karim sallallahu alayhi wa sallam returns from a ghazwa. He asks the Sahaba who will stay awake and keep watch. Ammar ibn Yasir and Abbad ibn Bishr volunteer. Between them they decide that we will stay awake part of the night. One will stay awake part of the night, the second will sleep. And this is how we will change. Abbad ibn Bishr now stays awake for the first part of the night. An enemy scout makes him out from a distance, and whilst he's standing in prayer, he begins to shoot arrows at him. Abbad ibn Bishr, now the arrows are hitting him. The enemy seeing that this person is not making a movement, now shoots a second arrow, shoots a third arrow, and every time the arrows are piercing his body and he's bleeding profusely. Abbad ibn Bishr, every time arrow hits him, takes out the arrow and continues. When Ammar ibn Yasir wakes up and sees that his body is gushing with blood, he turns around to Abbad, why didn't you wake me up the first time an arrow struck you? And he responds to Ammar, at the time I was reciting Surah Al-Kahf. And I was enjoying the recitation of this surah. But when the third arrow struck me and I began to fear that my death might jeopardize the safety of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I finished my salah. Had it not been for the fear of this, that my death will jeopardize the safety of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would have continued reciting this, even if had I been killed, I would have not gotten it. You can only do this when this remembrance now becomes a source of spiritual ecstasy and becomes a source of happiness. And when you get to this stage, as a believer, you've got to that stage, now that you can taste the sweetness of Iman, and your level of Iman has reached this stage, my brothers, now this is the stage that anything can happen. You can lose your wife, you can lose your children, you can lose your cars, you can lose every single thing. Even if you're sleeping on the streets outside without any bed sheets as covering or beds to sleep on, in your heart you will be feeling this buzz and you will be feeling this happiness. But the Quran goes a step ahead. Logically, if you were to take a knife and put it on your fingers and to cut your fingers off, you will not be able to do so. When you start cutting, you will begin to feel the pain. And that pain will not allow you to cut your fingers. How is it then that the women of Egypt, when Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam came before them, وَقَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ وَقُلْنَا حَاشَا لِلَّهِ مَا هَذَا بَشَرٌ, How is it that the women of Egypt put up their hands when Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam walked before them? Because at the time, the dazzling beauty of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam was occupying their hearts. And this dazzling beauty of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam made them forget the pain whilst they were putting their hands. When a European eats curry, a hot curry, you will see water coming out of his eyes. Sometimes water coming out of his nose. But in spite that he's going through this so-called apparent difficulty, he will keep on eating and he will not give you anything. He doesn't feel the pain. When a junkie is on a high and you crack him, because he's on a high, he doesn't feel anything. When a Muslim, likewise, when a Muslim tastes this halawat al-Iman, when he tastes the sweetness of Iman, when he tastes this verse that I'm referring to, then anything can happen to him. Any calamity can befall him, even in this difficulty, even in this calamity. But these calamities will become more sweeter than anything. Why? Because his heart is occupied with the love of Allah. This is why the likes of Bilal Habshi radiallahu ta'ala, they whip him during the night, and then during the day, with the cuts and bruises that he's received, they take him to the burning sun, and they force him to lie down, and they play large stones on his chest. Now, logic says, this man should feel pain. Logic says he should feel pain, and he should renounce his deen. But the sweetness of Iman overcomes the bitterness of this punishment, and still that the words that are flow out. Ahad, ahad, ahad. The like of Khabbab, he is dragged along smouldering charcoal, heaps of smouldering charcoal. The aql and the mind say that this man should feel the pain. But the bitterness of this punishment is overcome by the sweetness of Iman and the love that he has for Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his heart. And still he says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Urwa ibn Zubair has cancer in his leg. A doctor advises him that he needs to take some intoxicants which will put him unconscious. He refuses. And now, his leg is amputated from knee downwards. And it's done in such a state that he is conscious, he is awake. And the narration states, his leg is amputated from us, his son. He didn't even say as much as, didn't even make any sound whatsoever. But the narration says, even on that day, when his leg was amputated, he stood before the Almighty Allah in prayer and read what he would normally read every night. Why? Again, when a person tastes the sweetness of Iman, anything can happen to you. When you get to this stage, then even calamities, even difficulties. This is why the examples that I gave you, people don't have names. He's lost the very child that he was dependent on. And still, he's praising the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because in his heart now, he's still happy because he knows everything, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it is coming from the absolute master. And he's happy with his decree. And when now, a person gets to this stage, that even difficulties and illness become more sweeter than honey. This is the stage when the hadith comes to effect. Allah becomes the eye with which he sees. Allah becomes the hand with which he touches. Allah becomes the leg with which he walks. And Allah says, with me he sees, with me he touches. And when he asks something, I give him. When he asks for protection, I protect him. This is the stage. When a person gets to this stage, this is the stage now when everything becomes subservient to this man. Everything becomes subservient to this man. Everything Allah has created for this man. And when a person gets to this stage, he sees that everything becomes subservient to him. The likes of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Salman al-Farsi is leaving Madain, and he has with him a guest. And at the time there are some birds flying in the sky, and there are some deers roaming around in the jungle. And Salman al-Farsi says, Ya Allah, let a deer and some birds come to me. I have a guest. I want to honor him. And as Salman al-Farsi prayed, the deer and birds come before him. Now his guest is shocked. And he says, Subhanalladhi sakhara laka al-tayra fil hawa. Glorified is the one that has made birds in the sky subservient to you. And Sayyidina Salman al-Farsi radiallahu ta'ala responds, أتتعجب من هذا? Are you surprised and shocked at this? Have you ever seen a servant of Allah? هل رأيت عبدا أطاع الله فعصاه الله? Have you ever seen a servant that becomes Allah's and spends his life for Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't take care of him? The great Ibrahim ibn Adham, the saint, he passes by a shepherd, and he asks this shepherd, if you have any water or milk. The shepherd turns around and says, tell me, O Ibrahim, what would you like, water or milk? Ibrahim responds, I'd like some water. With a stick in his hand, he strikes a stone, and with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, water begins to fall. Ibrahim ibn Adham rahmatullah alayhi himself was a very great saint who left the riches of his father. His father was one of the kings of the Khurasan, and he left everything, and he turned to the Almighty Allah. He says, I drank that water, it was more colder than ice, and it was sweeter than honey. And I drank it. And again, he says, I was surprised. I was surprised again, how can this be? And again, the shepherd told me, when a person becomes Allah's, then after everything becomes this person's. But this, my brother, is the final stage. When a person gets to this stage, that now everything becomes subservient to him. This is the stage when this person now begins to realize what the words of Rasulullah mean. Ad-dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. This is the stage that this person realizes that this world in reality is nothing but this. And this is the stage when this person now, man ahabba Allah liqa'ah. This is the stage when a person now wants to be with the Almighty Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants to meet Allah and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to meet him. My brothers, this, for you and me, is a long way away. It is a long way away. But this does not mean that it cannot be achieved. This should be every person's desire. To get to this ultimate stage where the only thing a person wants to do now is meet his Lord. This should be everyone's dream. But it's not easy to fulfill this dream. There are many stages that we have to go through before we get to that final stage. And the first stage is that we recognize the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we can only recognize the Almighty Allah if recognition comes through education. If there is no education, there will be no recognition. We need to educate ourselves in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to learn the Quran. We need to understand what the Quran is saying to us. We need to learn the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we need to live our lives in accordance to the sunnah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Once we begin to learn this, now we will begin to recognize who Allah is, what Allah is, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from people like you and I. Once we begin to recognize Him, now we will begin to love Him. And the more we love Him, the more we will turn to Him. Then it will not be like this, that we open a Quran, read 1-2 pages, and we will get fed up. Or we're standing before the Almighty Allah in prayer, 2-3 minutes, and we can no longer stand. My brothers, that is when all these ahadith of Rasulullah will come to mind, in which where these companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would stand before the Almighty Allah in prayer for hours and hours, is because when they were standing there, they were feeling that feeling. That feeling, it cannot be described. It is billion times better than any feeling that anyone has ever felt. And the more you remember Him, the more this feeling increases. It increases. And then when you leave this world, And when you see the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next world, where this feeling gets to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. No human can comprehend it, no human can describe it. But if you believe me, and if you act upon what I'm saying, take this portion, take this meditation that I'm giving you, you will understand exactly what I'm referring to. There is the time, my brothers, when you will overlook these cars, you will overlook the hundreds and thousands of pounds, you will overlook the women. Nothing at that time will interest you, because the thing that everybody is looking for, you will find that you have already this thing inside your heart, and you are happy and you are content. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me the tawfiq to act on what I said. Allah give you the tawfiq. The time is now to take preparations for Isha. We will, inshallah, shortly read Isha. I think it is